This is about my first ever bullet journal, which you see in my tiny hands right now. This was my 2017, let's see, it says it here, July 2017, and it lasted me until October 2017. This was my very first attempt at doing bullet journaling. I cannot remember why I started. I wish I could. I've even written a note to myself in the front saying, talk about how and when, but I can't remember. Probably on social media or, you know, somewhere on the internet. I must have seen the word bullet journal. Do you know, honestly, it could have been BuzzFeed. I think it probably was BuzzFeed. God love BuzzFeed. 27 ways to improve your life using the magic of bullet journaling. So yeah, no idea. Previously I used to just use tiny diaries, which if this takes off and makes me an influencer, I'm sure I will tell you all about in my interview with, you know, Planner Nerds Anonymous magazine. But the point is, this was really my first ever exposure to the idea that you could plan and journal in the same tiny book that you carry with you everywhere. It's now 2020, and as I may have mentioned, or maybe I just said it in my head, there's a pandemic on, so my systems are very different now. They would have been anyway, but because of the pandemic I've had a lot more time to journal, so this tiny little fella wouldn't be big enough. Okay, do you think that's long enough for the preamble in the video where the person just shows you their closed planner for long enough? I think that's probably long enough, so let's have a look. Firstly, the planner itself. This is a Moleskine, pocket-sized, and as you can see, it's got its native blue matching bookmark, and it's also got a few stitches here because I've attached this pink bookmark as well to that page there. That was probably too fast. Another kludge that I've added to this, sorry, is that I've just put some pieces of elastic on here. This was before I got lazy / started using Leuchtturms. So this is before I realized you could just buy one of these and stick it in. Although, you know, props to me because actually this was better. This was using up my sewing stash. Anyway, so, oh my goodness, that must have been jerky. I think I just knocked my ridiculous rig with this music stand that I'm using as a tripod. So I could pause the video to yawn as promised. Okay, so I started in July 17 and sort of followed, obviously Ryder Carroll's book hadn't even, I think had not come out yet at that point, but sort of found what I could find about the bullet journal system. And there were a few things I took on board immediately, the index being one. So I definitely used the index right from the start, and I still use the index in my journal. Not so much in my planners. I now have separate systems. More on that later. Habit trackers, obviously not really a Ryder Carroll thing. Not really a traditional bullet journal thing. And honestly, this was just ridiculous. Who has time to colour in all these little squares? So I didn't... Apologies. I realised that it's very satisfying if you are the sort of person who's consistent enough to do this. But I didn't really see the point of... I mean, what do some of these even mean? Breathe? Yeah, it looks like I forgot to breathe on some days. Surprised I survived that. The future log was a major part of the idea for me. I found it quite exciting that I could use a more free-form way to plan ahead in my life, rather than flipping to the specific week of, say, a mini, tiny W.H. Smith planner or something. The idea that I could decide how to lay out my future. That was very interesting to me. And I just started experimenting. So you can see I literally started midway through July. So the first date in my bullet journal is in fact the 15th of July 2017, because you can do that. And actually it fits these tiny pages better. And I experimented with different weekly spreads. It was July, so next thing, the very next thing I needed to do was plan a holiday. So that was really fun, because on holiday I was able to try out different layouts. Clearly this one didn't work, although I did stick to this habit tracking system for quite a long time. I loved decorating it. as you can see, I found a really nice way to draw these blackberries, very appropriate for August. They ripen sooner in London where I live. In Ireland where I was holidaying, they are later because there's less of a microclimate. Edibles, why I called it edibles I don't know, but this is a spread that I've kept ever since, so it's like a master shopping list. I saw this somewhere on Pinterest maybe, and it's so useful. You can see I still haven't rubbed out from 3 years ago, why would I? So you can see how I used it. I would just make a pencil mark when something ran out, and then put that into my phone list or whatever. It was 2017. I did actually have a smartphone in 2017. I only got it in 2015, but there you go. Plans for pagan feast days. I am a fake joke, self-ironic pagan. Samhain party, for example. Yeah. Oh, and I was a teacher, so it was also pretty cool to me that I realised, oh, I can actually just make a spread to plan the school holidays. Weren't they lovely? I mean, unfortunately, they apparently weren't enough, because I still managed to have a slight mental breakdown, and that was jolly. This planner, in fact, played a huge part in me realising that I needed to change things. And I love this. I still haven't... Oh, I seem to have finished this planner, or finished using this meal spread, the same week that we took some Year 7s to France, myself and my colleagues. I don't teach French, but I was helping. And I was trying to teach myself Chengyu. My Chinese is good, but my Chengyu are shite. And I always have something to do with exercise in my planners as well. Some translation work and stuff. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So then August comes along, and you can see my style is evolving a little bit. I've had all this travel journaling up to here. I think I even did some little sketches and things. And as you can see, I do a lot of journaling about journaling. So, and journaling about planning and planning about planning. I call it meta planning, and I've since developed it into its own category because I just don't want to store it. I don't want this nonsense on my shelf forever. So that's one disadvantage of the bullet journal one book system for me, if you like, is that I don't need to keep this. These are literally to-do lists and brain processing. I don't want to keep this. So it's one of the reasons I have since separated my planner and my journal. But I have to say, I loved it, and it served its purpose. And I think it's fair to say it changed my life. We'll come to that, maybe, if you stick around. Yeah, so various attempts at refining my spreads, adding whatever I needed to. Looks like I was actually trying to read books, which is funny because I had no time, but apparently I succeeded in reading some books, so that's good. Just notes on Chinese. Oh, this was during the holiday, so I drew this beautiful, I'm going to go with weasel, never sure between stoats and weasels. This is a plant called Tormentil. I drew it so I could ask my mother what it was. Drew some more plants while on holiday. It's the beauty of the Bujo, #Bujo system. You can just change things around. We had pizza with my friend and he was admiring my drawings, and then he put his thumb in oils as we were having pizza, so I labelled it and got him to sign it. That kind of nonsense. And then we visited, there's an incredible garden in kind of southeast Ireland called Coolock Gardens. When we're all liberated from this pandemic, do go and pay a visit. And I was drawing the lilies they had there. This is just a trick if you ever have 2 pages or a page that you totally mess up. Why not never look at it again? So simply sew with needle and thread, simple running stitch around the edge, and you have a little pocket. And then for effect I actually drew a needle and thread as well. That was just superfluous. Blah blah blah. See, journaling about journaling. It's all very well, and it's me designing stuff and thinking about things that would work and whatnot, but ultimately, you know, I don't want it archived. I'm gonna need a bigger place to live. I liked this spread. This was a nice and for me very successful, neat weekly spread. Anyone here who has found my channel because of some future video I will probably do about the Hobonichi weeks, can you see that I probably should have just switched to the Hobo weeks right now? I mean, I continue to use this. Did I? Is that true? I continued to use this weekly spread style for a very long time before finally realizing that the Hobonichi weeks exists and therefore I don't have to draw this every time. The Hobo will give me that structure. Anything else in here that's of note? No, just journaling. Random ranting in German about stuff for some reason. Don't know why. Just came out. I'm dreading accidentally catching something on YouTube that people can pause and find out my deepest, darkest secrets. But honestly, I hope none of you guys are really arsed. I don't think people will be arsed about such things. Recipes from my aunt. And so on and so forth. My theme then for September, I left the blackberries behind. I loved this colour scheme, and my theme was bindweed. What's it called? Bindweed. I should know. Convolvulus. My friend was explaining the harp to me and the history of the harp. So then all I did was, to make it look nice, I just added some mild liner or some marker afterwards on her doodles. Dailies, weirdly, I will be going back to this system again, but separate from my main planner or Hobo weeks. I really, in retrospect, loved this very simple daily bullet journal system. I might not necessarily do the doodles or whatnot, but funnily enough, just this past fortnight I've been doing something very similar to this in larger format, and it has vastly increased my general sense of togetherness. More stuff, blah blah blah, more bindweed, me trying to, I don't know what I'm doing, filling up space, pointless washi and doodles and things. I mean, of course it's all slightly pointless, but trying to make wish lists. I still do this. I still don't use them enough. I really should, I don't know, put little, well, I even tried that. Look, I was going to say I should put little tags on them. I do, and I still don't really use them. Let's see. And I tried sometimes to reflect on the previous month based on the journals. Am I getting horribly out of off my plan? I think I am. So I've told you I can't remember how or when I heard about bullet journaling. I've talked a little about monthlies. The evolution of weeklies, I think you've kind of seen. I found a system that works. Let's talk about the journaling aspect and the impact that had. So reflections from months were very useful, but they're kind of annoying to do, and I often just really can't be bothered. But what they did achieve for me was they forced me to summarize. And where have I started to do this? Do you know, funnily enough, I think it was this very month. So this was, I failed my driving test twice, damn buses. So this was revelatory. It was an epiphany for me that I could write a single line every day and then actually get an impression of how my life actually was. I was working very, very long hours as a teacher at the time. I'm just letting you admire my lovely October colours while telling you all this stuff. So this spread forced me to address things like, oh, it wasn't just last week that I was stressed and overwhelmed and unhealthy as a result. Actually, by the looks of it, I've kind of been distressed for a very long time. And then that led to this whole section in my first ever bullet journal, managing workload. I had to take time off work. Things did really come to a head, but I was journaling, I was documenting them at the same time. So it was fortuitous in that sense. So I followed a really useful little book called Managing Workload for Teachers, I think it was. Pardon me, and just did the exercises in it, which you've just glimpsed, and decided to quit my job, which I did. And there you have it. That's what this bullet journal did for me. It caused me, it had nothing to do with the cat turning up, but he is kind of great, and he did turn up on the 31st of October. So he's a black cat we fostered on Samhain Eve, or on Halloween. I'll leave it there while I talk. So yeah, that was the effect that this bullet journal had for me. Was it was a very, it's pretty, of course, a little bit, like I think it's cute looking back at my slightly janky style back then, but not that it has to be perfect, you know, it's YouTube, let's be real, let's not fall into that trap. But the prettiness of it is only a tiny part, and actually yeah, it transformed my life, because it forced me to address a whole month at a time, and even more than a whole month at a time, and to read my own private reflections, just very short reflections from each day, and realize that a problem that I was trying to minimize because I'm naturally optimistic was actually quite a serious problem, and maybe I should take action. So yeah, that's it. And then back here, got various nonsense, including just heart stickers and stuff that I was going to use for trackers and whatnot, cute notes from some colleagues and things. I assume I will upload this video. I've told you a little bit about what I don't do anymore, haven't I? Yeah. I assume I'll upload this video, in which case, hopefully you exist and are listening. Not sure really what YouTube is for and how I should approach it. Do I need a brand? I think I'm very on brand, thank you very much. So we'll see. I'm going to rewatch it, decide if it's tolerable, and if it is, I will see you on YouTube. And then if even 3 people find it helpful or fun or nerd out with me about this type of system, then probably that will encourage me, and I'll just unfortunately have to post more videos. So yeah. Okay, standard YouTube spiel, top and tail done. Yeah, looking forward to meeting you. Bye bye.